Welcome, Kellyanna, to Toast and Jams. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Kellyanna is an artist and designer based in London, known for her powerful silhouetted figures with a strong focus on movement, sport and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
God, that's a big question to start. If you know my journey, I basically I started out as a dancer, a gymnast. I grew up as a dancer, basically.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, my mum and dad were ballroom and Latin dancers, and it's actually how they met, those two.
So movement is a big part of everything.
Yeah, a huge
and you can
part.
really see that.
Yeah,
Makes
it's
so much sense.
So my dad's also an artist, and he was quite a big figurative artist. So he really was my teacher growing up. So he taught me everything, and yeah, we'd go to these ballroom and Latin competitions, and I'd kind of take my sketchbook. So I'd either be competing or sketching, and I'd kind of watch the dancers move around the floor and just...
Such a beautiful marriage of things. That is really cool.
I kind of started capturing movement from quite an early age. And then I really got into dance. I got into lots of different dance, and I did it all through my childhood, my teenage years, and into early adulthood. And even when I was in these, I was in a few dance groups, I would always be the one with the sketchbook out and sketching everyone. So it kind of was always married at an early age. And then I went to study fashion illustration at uni.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's making a lot more sense.
Yeah. And then I basically, when I was at uni, I won a competition to live illustrate at Fashion Week. So I basically got to go.
And you're so already well versed in that.
Yeah. So it was kind of a weird thing. It felt so natural to me to sketch really fast.
Yeah.
Because I was always practicing it. And
such good practice.
Yeah. And so I'd sit front row and sketch all the looks coming down the catwalk.
Sick.
And I did that. Yeah. I did that for like 4 seasons.
Wow.
Really weird. And like, I was like early 20s at that point. And I've got like pictures. I even went to like a fashion event and Naomi Campbell was there and I was sketching her. You know, when you're young and you just have that, like, you have no fear. And I just went up to her and I was like, oh, I've sketched you. And I've got a picture of her and I gave her the actual artwork.
What was she like?
She was so nice. I mean, she was nice to me, but I was just giving her it. But yeah, so I did that for a while.
Does that still happen?
Really
do people still do live sketches at fashion shows?
Do you know what? I always keep an eye on it because it's always something that I would love to go back to. And I think I've always dreamt of being at the end of a catwalk with a big easel and doing it live and really capturing it.
Because it could be, you could have a camera over you streaming it. Yeah. It could be a part of the performance.
Exactly. And I've always dreamt of that. And it will happen one day. I know it will happen. It's just timing and when. But because, there's millions of cameras, everyone's got their phones and having something tangible and someone actually painting it and, capturing that movement.
Special.
Yeah, it's so special. So, one day, I don't know, watch this space.
Well, you just got to make it happen, I guess.
I know. Yeah. So hopefully we can make that happen.
Is there any designer that you would top of the pick?
Oh gosh, that's too big a question. There's too many. My a good friend. Do you know Labrum?
Not sure.
A really, really amazing brand. Maybe I'll give him a call after this.
I do. Yeah,
I did a season, like a print season with them. I might give him a call after.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give you a call.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. So we like to ask our guests to pick a song from childhood, teenage years that was in some way reminds them of the start of their kind of creative journey. And what song was that for you?
Remember Me. And
that is by Blue Boy.
Blue Boy.
Yeah. Came out in 1997.
Yeah.
So why did you pick that tune?
It's I was just saying, like, it's one of those songs that just I always go back to it and it just makes me feel really good. And the first time I remember hearing it was in the kitchen with my mum. My mum, like, she'd always have the radio on and we had like a tiny, tiny kitchen. I don't know why, but I really remember it. It's really, really vivid for me.
Whereabouts in the world were you at this point?
Ipswich.
Okay.
If you've ever heard of it.
I know Ipswich well. Yeah.
Whenever I say Ipswich,
I know
everyone's
Diss
like, where?
well.
Diss, yeah.
My
Suffolk.
grandma used to live near there, and we used to like drive into Diss to do shops and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Suffolk is really lovely.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, so from Ipswich.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a small part of the world.
And what was life like for you at that time? Let's say creatively, in the creative context.
So at that time, I was dancing, and me and Dad would draw a lot together.
Yeah.
But he's quite intense. Like he would, if I ever looked down at the paper, like he'd rip it away and tell me to start again.
Really?
Yeah, this makes him sound really awful. He's
no, it's not
in any
but
way.
It's interesting
like,
for sure.
He's very eccentric, my dad. But like he had a point. His point was always look up and focus on your subject. Like the subject's the most important part.
Yeah. Wow.
So if I'm looking to, like a lot of people when they're learning to draw, they're like constantly trying to look down at their paper, trying to,
It's like taking the music away from a piano player or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, he was like, why are you looking down there? Your subject's there.
Wow. So you had a good education off the bat. You know?
And he loves colour. Like my dad he always used to say to me, literally all the time was like, everyone in the world can understand colour. Like it's the language that everyone understands.
Whether they know it or not.
They know it. It's just it's red. People can. It's something that people can really understand. So it's emotional, and I
What's
always.
your dad's name? We just give him some
Eamon.
props. Big up Eamon.
Eamon Shepherd.
Yeah. Ledge.
he is a ledge. All my friends, they love my dad. He's a character, that's for sure. But yeah.
Cool. And we also ask our guests to bring on a drink to toast with.
Yeah.
And what did you choose today?
I chose something really boring because it's morning.
Yeah.
No
drink is boring. Where's your bottle? Have you got one?
You got to.
Okay, well I've got a bottle here. It's San Pellegrino sparkling natural water.
Yeah, it's just the best.
And
a little bit of lemon, nice.
A bit of lemon and ice. Cheers.
So, cheers.
Thank you. This is a welcomed, hydrating, delicious water.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Healthy.
It's considered by many to be the best.
It is. Although, is it? I don't know if it's just marketing. I love the label, so.
Everyone's always, if you want to, San Pellegrino is the one that they go for. There's a good French one called begins with B, Boudoir or Boudoir. You know that one?
Budweiser.
Yeah, Budweiser. So, a couple of facts about San Pellegrino. It was founded in Italy in 1899. Yeah. In the first year, the company produced 35,000 bottles of mineral water. You can do a spa retreat in the waters of San Pellegrino.
Did not know that.
You can basically visit it and bathe in the thermal baths of San Pellegrino, which is
wow.
I'm sure would be very nice.
I'm sure you'd have to have quite a bit of money for that.
Yes, you do. Yeah. But yes, cheers. Delicious water.
Cheers. It's the most boring drink.
Well, I mean, it's as much as I like a mojito or whatever in the morning, it's
it's not.
It's a bit better to not be getting drunk at 11 a.m. So we've kind of touched on 1997 and what life was like, and the start of your journey as an artist. But your work is characterized by kind of bold colors, like you touched on, and female figures. But what influences have shaped your distinctive style since childhood?
So I after uni, when I was live illustrating at Fashion Week, when I was there, that's when I really fell in love with print design. And I always say this, but
how did you fall? What was the first interaction with it? How did you fall in love with it?
It's just seeing the print on these collections, and the print would often tell the stories behind the collection, right? And I just absolutely fell in love with that side of it.
Yeah.
So I got really into print design, and my first job out of uni was in print for clothing. So, and I absolutely loved it. And I, got to work on lots of different things within that company. And I ended up becoming the head of print, and we'd work on everything from like, music and kind of lots of different collabs. And that's kind of where I started to learn, how I could see my artwork in different ways and on product, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did clothing for a while, and then I moved into footwear. So I ended up being a print designer for a footwear brand. Which was
I think you can say.
Sophia Webster.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I ended up doing the prints for the shoes.
Wow. And how long did that last?
I did. So from the start of me working in print and clothing was, I think I worked in it for like 8 years, maybe 7-8 years, and then footwear together with that. But I was obsessed with print. Like I absolutely loved being able to, break the shoe apart and work on each piece and then pull it back together, and it becomes a whole new product. And
and such an extra dynamic as well to be working with physical products.
Yeah. That's what I love. Like I think because I didn't have that usual route, like I didn't go and study illustration, come out and do illustration. I was making product, which is, I think, probably why my career's taken the route it's taken, rather than being an illustrator where I, illustrate articles and things like that. I don't necessarily do that. Mine's much more product based and, installation.
And you kind of, I guess you've got a limitation of the form that the product already has. Yeah. And you have to work around that, right?
Yeah.
Within that limitation. Do you find that quite kind of inspiring?
Yeah, I love that. I love working on different products, different spaces. I love that challenge of, getting a new space, breaking it up, seeing how I can use it and put it together.
What was the project you worked on? Was it a football pitch or no? Was football pitch?
Yeah, football.
Wow,
pitch.
I was thinking
it was like
a
cage football.
Yeah, so it's
not pitch. Sorry,
giant.
It's like a cage football.
So how talk us through that? How did you kind of come to do that? And how was it to work on?
It was quite challenging, actually, that one, because like amazing but challenging, because the thing with you have to be able, when you're on there, you have to be able to read the lines, right, to play the game.
Yeah.
So, but the story that they wanted me to get in was quite a big story. There were loads of things I had to like get into the reference. Like I had to.
What was the brief? So what was the brief?
It was for the that 90s advert, The Cage. Was it called The Cage? Yeah, The Cage. Really famous football advert, but it's based around that. But they wanted to make sure that, football was for everyone. So they wanted it to be quite, inclusive of women and, there was a lot of reference points that I had to get into the artwork. So that was really challenging because I couldn't put too much in there because it had to be readable, And
accessible,
accessible. So it was actually a really challenging piece. But I ended up using, there were, where the benches were and all of the side bits, I used those bits. I broke those apart.
So did you kind of like compartmentalize the whole process, the whole thing?
Exactly. So I broke it apart, which is how I usually do most things. And I use those parts to tell the story as well, which a lot of people don't know about that. But so when you're on the court, it's not too busy. And when you zoom out, you can see the whole picture. Because actually there's offices all around. And I wanted, from when you're up the top, you can look down and you see the whole.
So it was going to be looked at from that kind of point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, challenging.
So how do places you've lived or traveled to influence your work?
I'm obsessed with going to markets. Wherever I go, I always love to go to like the, those like weird trinket markets.
Yes. Which are everywhere.
Which are everywhere.
Yeah,
Like
do you know what I
anywhere
mean?
you go, there's
Yeah.
always a weird trinket market. I love those. And I'll always pick something up. Like my partner, he's super OCD at home. So like I'm only allowed to keep a few bits in there. But everything is in my studio. And I love to kind of collect those pieces from those areas, because I always find that at those trinket markets, it's always like local artists from that area.
Yeah.
And that's why there's always so many like really weird, interesting things. So yeah, I collect a lot of that. And I always like to, whenever I go to a new place, is now it's quite easy to kind of DM people from that area and be like, hey, can I come to your studio? And so I do that.
Is that something you do often?
Yeah, if I can, like if I'm in the space too, and you know, if there are people around. But I like to do that because I think it's nice just to go and
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So like I was in Brazil last year, and there was this local artist there, and she's like, I think she's like 70, and I went to her house, which is her studio, and she has like there's so many paintings.
You just cold messaged her?
Well, actually,
How did this work
out? My partner's dad has a lot of her pieces, and I was like, I want to meet her. So we went and met her.
Okay.
And she had this like her studio. I kid you not, she was in this like high rise building, and her kitchen was absolutely tiny, and she had just this easel like in her kitchen and this table filled with like paints and I was like, how does she do all of this work in here? But she does. And it was
she
amazing.
must have do you think she's got like a high turnaround there, so she's actually getting rid of a lot of work?
I think so. She does. I mean, Elcio, my partner's dad, he's I think he's bought half of it.
Oh, okay,
But
wow.
yeah, no.
Proper fan.
Yeah, but it was amazing. And so she gave me a piece and yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a lovely
amazing.
interaction.
Yeah, it really was. It really was to see someone she really is just doing it for the love of it. And that was it's really inspiring.
So how do you think visiting these places and meeting these people, whether it's markets or this artist in Brazil, how does that kind of find its way back into your work once you return home?
I think it's not necessarily, I don't know if it's necessarily visuals. I think it's more the feeling I get when I'm in those spaces for me, because feeling how I felt in her house, I was like, I guess I was so inspired by her. The fact that she didn't need a massive studio space. She didn't need like millions of followers. She just loved it. That was it. And, you know, being in these trinket little markets.
Just reminding you of actually what's needed and what's not.
Yeah.
You know,
Simplicity. Exactly. Yeah. And I think today, especially now, like so much of what we do is so online and so focused on, you know, who
diluted.
You are. And diluted. Yeah.
You're right.
Unfortunately, that's the whole discussion now is like, it's amazing that we have these platforms and all of these things. However, it does dilute, and then it creates a lot of people, you know, copying and doing all of these other things that make it really hard to be an actual, I guess, artist who's doing something very specific or having a style, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So looking at like empowerment is a reoccurring theme in your art, and especially around women, which is really cool. What motivated you to kind of center your themes around strength and empowerment in your work? If anything.
So it's really funny because like when I was starting, when I'd come out of print design and I really knew I wanted to do my own thing as an artist, I started going back to dance classes, and I started going back to that world, which is what I knew.
Your roots.
So yeah, my roots. And my best friend Hannah, she's a dancer, and at the time she was a dancer at Rumba. And
did you meet through dance?
No, we met in primary school actually, but
right.
she ended up going to the Royal Ballet School.
Yeah.
So she was at Rumba, and I basically was like, can I come to your school and sketch? And then they ended up doing this thing called the Playground. I think they still do it now, where they have different people from different creative backgrounds, whether it's in sound design, architecture, me, and then they have the dancers. And on Fridays, they get together and they just create pieces from all these different,
Wow.
it's incredible. And so, yeah, I did that for a little while, and I just, go, this always sounds really creepy, but go to gyms and like sketch and, seeing
Are you allowed to
people
do that?
work out. I know it sounds really creepy.
If you had a camera, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
but I kind of just wanted to go back to what I knew, and she keeps like creeping away. And so, and I at the time, I mean, back then, it makes me sound really old, but I wasn't really seeing that kind of female figure portrayed in the way I know females to be.
Yeah.
Every female I know is strong. Like they're just strong people. Like, my mum, my sister, like all my friends, I know them as very strong. Me, I see myself as very strong. So I just I knew I wanted to get that across in some way. And even like, people, a lot of guys actually will refer like, kind of what do you call it? Not match. What's that word? Compare. Compare me to Matisse. But I'm always like, I totally get that referencing, of course. However,
I hadn't thought about it until you just said it, but I can see that.
Even that is, the female figure was through the eyes of a man, right? Very soft, very delicate, very bouncy, whereas for me, I get the referencing, but it's totally different. And it's quite funny that it's usually men that say that to me. I've never actually, most women don't say it because I think they can see the very very clear difference.
Yeah.
It's, it's strong. It's supposed to come across as that, how they feel, right? And I think that's why a lot of women have said they really enjoy it because it makes them feel powerful and strong, which is what they are.
Well, that's what my next question was going to be, is how do you hope that your work impacts those that view it, especially women? Yeah,
I hope so, because like when I'm creating them, I feel strong, and I know it sounds really lame.
No, not at all.
But I just, and actually a lot of my referencing was, I'm obsessed with the Olympics and all the memorabilia of the Olympics. And I have these books at home which show all of the graphic designers behind the Olympics and all of the work within those, from the stamps to...
Well, I love all the retro nods that you give in your work, to that kind of time.
Yeah, and I'd always look at these posters, and it was always like these really strong, heroic men on the posters. And yeah, I was like, no, I want some women.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah.
Many artists experience personal moments of empowerment in their lives.
Yeah.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your life when you felt empowered and how it influenced your art?
Yeah. When I became a mum, I think. No, I know it actually was. Weirdly, because it was the most vulnerable time of my life, but the most powerful time.
What made it the most vulnerable and the most powerful?
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
This is so weird. So I think we go through life, especially now as women, not really tapping into our intuition and our gut feelings and all of the things that make us human, right? I think we just go through life just kind of surviving, And when I had Noah, it was the first time I really felt my gut and my intuition and my instincts. I really felt it. Like when I held him for that first time, it was like everything just went here, and I just felt that
it's
instinct.
Mad, right? How the body and procreation and survival, it's a switch, right? And it's like this is now the most important thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And nothing else matters.
Nothing else.
And
Yeah.
it's very self-aligning kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
well, it centers you because it brings you back down.
This is the
brings you
basics
into
of
human.
life.
It's the basics.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I'd really felt instincts.
Wow.
And because actually, whilst I was pregnant, I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified. Not only because I was having a baby, and it wasn't necessarily planned. We hadn't planned this. But it was actually because I thought my career was going to be over. I was literally like, oh my gosh, that's my career over. I've been working so hard. And I know that sounds selfish.
Well, no, it's just a natural fear to have, I guess.
Yeah. And I was so scared, so petrified that I'd worked my whole life to get to the point I was. And I was just at this point in my career where it's kind of, I was really enjoying it and getting lots of work. And then I fell pregnant and I was like, oh.
Also, the way that society treats pregnant women and women that are having children is you have every right to be afraid.
Yeah. Oh, seriously afraid. Well,
because you're treated so badly.
Yeah. And also, at the time, I didn't really see anyone doing what I wanted to be doing out in the world, apart from Laquena. And at that time, she had like 2 kids. And I love her work. So she was kind of the only person I was kind of looking at going,
just in case no one knows who that is.
She's an amazing artist.
Yeah,
check her out.
Right.
And she's like a powerhouse. And, she was the only person really doing what, I wanted to do, but with kids. And I was thinking, okay, she's my bit of hope. I was going, okay, she can do it. Maybe I can. But it was really scary because you don't see a lot of it. Like, now actually in the last 5 years, I've noticed a lot more mothers coming out and working and showing, putting the two together. But when it definitely wasn't as prevalent, the word. So yeah, don't know how we've trailed off. But
no, we got there because empowering moments.
Yes.
And that sounds like a really good one.
Yeah. And instincts instincts and gut is so important in the creative industry. Like it's something we don't.
Parenting.
And in
yeah, there's a real parallel there.
There really is, and it's something we don't lean into enough. I don't think.
Sure, yeah.
I said this at a talk the other day. I was like, it's so important to keep mums in the creative space because what do mums offer? Gut and instincts.
yeah.
And life.
yeah.
But it's true.
But you're right,
It's something that's so kind of overlooked and, but it's really important.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Really is. It's a great answer. Thanks. I want to talk to you a bit more about your artistic process and mediums. Can you walk us through your creative process a bit and how you typically approach starting a new piece, for example?
Yeah. For personal or a brand?
Let's go personal.
Personal.
Because brand is steered mostly. So let's go personal.
Personal is really hard. It's really challenging.
Yeah.
I think I was speaking to this with my studio partner yesterday, actually, about how when it's personal work, like there literally is no limitations. So you almost have to give yourself limitations. Because I find when it's like that blank canvas thing, that's way too scary. Like it's, it's almost like it is too scary. So I often, like with a personal project, I love working on product. So I'll often say if it's like a product that I want to design or, I will, like for instance, I'm working on a series called KA Art Deco, and it's basically these wooden sculpture series that I started because I wanted to develop my figures in a way that kind of takes me away from the things that people, the figures that people know of me, and move it into this more kind of simplistic space. And I've always been obsessed with shape. So I wanted to kind of create the series that focuses solely on the shape, and then you like build them together, which then makes the figure.
Yeah. Wow.
And I started that because actually my dad actually did sculpture as well, and I'm obsessed with sculpture. It's definitely something.
It
that
seems
I
like
see.
such a natural transition for your style. To work
exactly
in that realm.
And I love it, and I always like the idea that my figures take up space and they hold their own, and they really do, and they can hold their own space. So I would love to move into that, and I am actually working on something at the moment.
When you work with the wood, do you do that by hand?
No, so
what's the process like?
So this is what I am very good at, outsourcing.
Yeah, sure, right.
Because this is I wanted to get into wood carving because I was like, I really want to learn this. However, I believe, like, with what I do, my brain is I love working on so many different things. I don't see myself, sitting down for 3-4 years learning how to do that. I want to build and make lots of different things. So to me, I reached out to this guy on Instagram, and I saw the work he did, and I was like, look, do you want to work together? I've got this idea. Can we try and pull this together? So I did a few sketches. He turned it into 3D. And then he kind of sent me the pieces, like the cutout pieces.
That must have been exciting.
Oh, it's so fun. That's the bit I love about what I do. It's like getting the samples, like, putting it all together. The first sample was horrendous. But actually now when I look back, I actually prefer it because it's like almost clunky. And
what's the term? Demo-itis or something? Like, when you like the demo more than the actual finished thing. Like,
oh, that's why. Yeah. Now when I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's actually way more interesting. So maybe I'll go back to that.
Because it's a raw estate.
Raw. Yeah, it's
like,
raw.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, quite common in the creative world, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, to kind of you get attached.
Yeah.
To the raw thing.
So
and then the polished thing, you're like, meh.
Yeah, it's a bit like it's lost the soul of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing about when you're making work is like, especially with something like painting. So I started this another series. You know me, I love a series. And it was like this canvas series where.
Do you find with a series you can explore an idea in a bit more depth?
Yeah, it's almost like a project.
Yeah,
I need like project. I can't.
Yeah, sure.
Like some artists can be very like open and free. I cannot. I have to have.
I'm like one song at a time kind of guy.
Yeah, I have to have series projects. Otherwise, it's too open. But yeah, my canvas series. They were just like ripped up bits of canvas, and I stapled them to the wall and just got my oil pencils out, and these I got the like these rollers and started rolling kind of figures. And like I went through probably like 2 months where I was obsessed with this, and I just every day
I can really imagine the roller with the movement thing working really well with what you do.
That's why I did it. Well, actually, I'd been to Tokyo.
You can move your body at the same time, right? Yeah.
I'd been to Tokyo and I went to an exhibition there, and it was all kind of these like black and white big paintbrush strokes of like typography. And it really, I was like, gosh, how can I see my figures in a different way and explore it, kind of more away from the graphic forms, which I love. I think there's, so much to be said about graphic and clean cut. But I also love the other side where it is a bit more raw and fresh, and it is all about movement. So yeah.
I can't remember the film, but it's a comedy, and there's a woman on a swing. She gets flung towards a canvas. What's the film?
Oh.
Big Lebowski, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember that? Have you seen that film?
No.
You've not seen Big Lebowski?
I know. I knew you were going to react like that. Okay, I'm going to watch it after this.
Yeah. There's a moment when he walks into this artist studio. She's like this rich, daughter of this rich guy or whatever, and she's literally on a swing and she's getting thrown and she's like bumps into this canvas or whatever.
Now I need to watch.
So maybe you could get inspiration from that.
I know I should have watched, and everyone's be like, "What have you not watched?"
Yeah, I mean it's you're going to really enjoy it.
Okay, great.
There's not a lot, I would challenge anyone to not like it.
Okay.
It's
Great.
so
You'd
easily
judge me
enjoyable.
if I didn't like it.
Well, it'd be weird.
Yeah.
I'd
I wouldn't
be
like
like,
you.
what didn't you like about it? Do you know what I mean? It'd have to be really specific, but no, it's a good film. You should
Okay.
definitely enjoy
All
that
right, I'll
one.
watch it.
I wanted to kind of shine a light on the fashion and collaboration kind of area of your working life.
Yeah.
You've collaborated with some pretty iconic brands, and the list is like intimidating actually on your website. What's been the most rewarding collaboration you've worked on?
I think, gosh, that's a hard one. The most rewarding. So far, I think definitely the Nike artist in residence. So far, I think because it meant so much to everything like that I'd ever worked on, and it kind of all just fell in the right place at the right time. It.
So when was this, and also how did it come about?
Okay, so I'll tell you how it came about. So basically, I walked into Nike one day and I saw the Cody Hudson artist in residence. Do you know his work?
I don't actually
Cody
know.
Hudson, he's amazing. He's been around for years, an amazing artist. And yeah, I saw his collection. So I DM'd the guy at Nike that I'd worked with on the first collection. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Literally sent like 1,000 fire emojis. Because we'd always kind of stayed in touch anyway. Like when he'd come to London, we'd hang out. And then, yeah, he literally wrote back and he was like, oh, it's funny because I've got some news for you. And I was like, oh, what? And he's like, have you got time for a call? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And he was like, we've chosen you for the next artist in residence.
Wow. And you said, if I say yes.
Yeah, if I say yeah. Obviously. No, but obviously, like for me, that was just, it felt like everything that I'd ever worked for had kind of come to that moment. And it was one of those moments in my career where I literally jumped for joy. Like I was so excited. But yeah, so it was really exciting, and I got to fly out there and met all the designers, and it was.
Where did you fly to?
Portland.
Oh yeah, of course. Home.
Yeah.
The home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting. And then but it kind of felt.
How long
felt
did the
so
residency
natural.
last for? Sorry to interrupt.
So it was just for a collection for SS. Oh gosh, no, I can't remember. Spring summer something 20. I think it was spring summer 21. Gosh, this is really bad. I can't remember. But anyway, so I got to fly out, and it was really fun. But it just felt really natural because I'd come from print design. And it was like my work with them, and the collaboration just felt quite easy. It didn't, because I'd worked in footwear as well. And I always say this to young artists or illustrators or designers is, don't ever feel bad when you come out of uni and you're not on the ones to watch lists, and you're not like, you haven't got these amazing collabs coming for you at once. Like I always say, because I think young designers and artists, they feel really like, not sad, but like disheartened when these things aren't just happening straight out of uni.
They feel like it should be.
They feel like it should be because they're looking online and going, oh my God, they're doing it. But I always say, like, I literally went through 8-9 years of working in a studio for someone else.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, I really wanted to get out and do my own thing, but I couldn't. I was living in London. I couldn't pay, I had to pay my rent. I had to realistically, try and earn money. And at the time I couldn't just go freelance.
Yeah.
It's that scary jump from working for someone to going freelance. But I always say, like, things take time, like, and don't feel bad if you are, even a few years out of uni and you still haven't gotten to that space yet where
100%,
brands are coming to you, because it took me until 29 to even get my first commission. So, it's not something that happens overnight. And if it does, I always say, if you are one of the very, very lucky ones to get on a ones to watch list and then you've taken off, sometimes that isn't the best way to go either, because a few years down the line, they've, been thrown into the world. and they might not have had the experience that you've
Might
had.
stunt your growth a little bit.
Exactly.
You know?
And you know, I learned all of the things I learned working in print, working with factories, working with production. I would never have learned that if I came straight out and gone and done freelance illustration, you know? So I think I always just, I like to say to like some of the younger ones is just, don't focus too much on being someone right away.
Trust the process.
Just, oh my God, it's so cliche, but it's so
No,
true.
it's true though.
Trust the process, because it can take years, and sometimes it's better if you.
Yeah, you need to learn some goddamn lessons.
Some goddamn lessons. No, you really do. You really have to learn. You also, I think it's also so much of how I collaborate now is what I learn working with other people and being under someone else. Like, that sounds really weird. Maybe don't put that in. No, but like, you know, watching how other people do it, and watching things that, you know, seeing how other people collaborate, and, you know, seeing, is that how I want to do it? Is that how I would like to?
Because if you get thrust to the top of somewhere where you've got yes people around you very quickly, you're not learning anything.
No.
You're just like, okay, well, I'm right.
I'm right.
And everything's right.
Yeah,
and
this is my style, and everyone's going to love it forever.
And life, it does not work like that.
No.
And you don't get anything from life like that.
No. It's also like, I know, again, all these cliche sayings, but it is so true. Like that journey to the destination is actually so much more fun than getting there, because you get there, and the worst thing about getting there is then you've got to stay there, or always keep, you know, journeying up to the next place. So, yeah.
So I just wanted to ask, how did it feel creating such work that celebrates movement, having that on things that move, like jackets and stuff? It just makes so much sense. Like, things that articulate, you know, and having your print on there. Yeah. It's works so well, right?
Yeah.
So,
I love it. The one thing I love about where I've kind of molded my work into is I really believe in how important movement is. Like, from anything, you know, from your mental health, like to move is so important. So to get people inspired to do that and to move in any way, for me, I think that's really important. And
look good whilst they do it.
And look good whilst doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, I really enjoy seeing people kind of interacting with my work and getting them into sport. Like, I did a collab with the Art of Ping Pong. And they do like these amazing ping pong tables that have art on them.
Wow.
And then TVC kind of got us in to do like these 4 ping pong tables outside. And it's just like this idea of, like, you know, in their lunch breaks, people will go and start moving through art. It's quite nice. I think it's
in the Google offices or somewhere like that, you know.
Yeah.
Arcade machines and ping pong tables and bars, and no one doing any work.
No one doing any work. Do they do any work? No.
We kind of touched on some challenges with pregnancy and things like that. But with that aside, what kind of challenges have you faced as a woman, let's say, in the creative industry, and how have you overcome them?
I think it's not necessarily challenges that I've faced personally, but I think as a whole, there are so many things that need to be addressed. One of them definitely being something as simple as, and this might sound really broad and really big, but I think it will really make a difference to women with their careers and having independence and all of these things. Looking at paternity.
Yeah.
Looking at paternity. Because at the moment, like, the reason it's so hard for women in the industry is because of maternity and paternity. Like, there's a lot more being discussed about it at the moment, but I think it's so important that alone gets looked at, and things that can help support mums to stay in the space, you know?
Yeah.
And look, of course, there's loads of women out there that do want to be stay-at-home mums, which is also amazing.
There's lots of men too that want to be stay-at-home
There's a lot of men
dads,
that want to be stay-at-home
and that
dads.
can help support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, just looking at that alone is something really quite small but massive that we can do. Because people always go, well, what can we do? What can we do to help women?
And if you can take that fear away that you had,
yes.
if you can, as a gift to future generations, if you take that fear away, it changes everything.
Yeah. I mean, the fear I had, I cannot tell you, was so...
I can imagine.
So strong. Like I was like, oh my gosh, everything I've worked for is going to disappear.
Because it feels, at the worst of times, it feels like that in the creative industry anyway.
Yes.
Like if I don't do a next bit of work in a few months, then
it's
I'm forgotten about.
Everything has to be.
So I can imagine it
the
like
forgotten thing.
times 10.
Yes, the forgotten thing was huge. Like I remember people saying to me, just take some time out, take a year out, take 2 years out. And I'm like, do you know how this industry works? Like, it's like, it's so fast paced.
Yeah,
And so, I think, you know, things like that can help. And also, opening up more spaces for women to talk. Like I said this the other day as well about, you know, some of these art festivals. You know, a lot of them now are opening up the stage to a lot more female creators. You know, which I think is really important because just hearing the way we work and the way we feel and our processes is also, it's really interesting. And
so you're pretty active in that world.
Yeah, I talk a lot.
Can you talk a lot?
I literally do. I talk too much. But
do you think it's a door that you can hold open for other female artists?
I hope so. Yeah. I hope because I think it's always like when you see someone, like it's easier. Like when I said when I was pregnant, I couldn't see that many women doing what I wanted to do. So when you can't see it, you're so scared because you're like, if no one else has done it, how am I going to do it? So I think it's important to keep, you know, trying to keep being in those spaces and showing, you know, like I did a talk in Berlin recently and I spoke a lot about becoming a mum in the industry and all of this. And the amount of DMs I got from women in the audience. That's a
beautiful thing.
Like at least 5 pregnant women messaging me and being like, oh my gosh, I've been so scared, but I haven't wanted to talk about it. So yeah, it is, it's something that needs to be spoken about. And I hope I can.
Sounds hopefully. Like you're playing a small role in a positive change.
Even helping like one girl just believe that you can actually.
It's a big deal.
But
That's
it is,
really cool.
it is hard. You need also a very supportive partner as well.
Yeah.
So
it helps.
It helps.
Sure. With your work, particularly the murals and the collaborations being viewed on such a global scale, how have you kind of handled critique and feedback, both positive and negative?
So it just reminded me. Oh God. I don't know if you're on TikTok, but
I am not actually.
TikTok is savage. So I basically was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to go onto TikTok now because you know Instagram's dying and all of that.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, I'm gonna start posting on TikTok, and I posted my first video, and it was one of the canvas pieces, and it actually like took off, and it got like I don't know how many comments, but a lot of comments, and I would say 30% of them were savage. Like,
ooh, ouch!
So funny.
Well, they say you should never read the comments, right?
I know, but it was.
What was the worst one?
Oh no! So some of them are just like, but they're seriously. I don't know if you read them on TikTok. They are savage. Like people will like Barry from Baltimore will be like in his room being like, what are those? My 2-year-old could do that. Oh, or like, I think someone's like, are they supposed to be hands? Or, you know, some of the comments, honestly, I found
just such jealousy though. It's just like pouring,
I found it so funny
jealousy, you know?
that I screenshotted it and put it on Instagram, and then that started a whole conversation.
Right,
and I
bet.
I found it so funny because I was like, I just was imagining someone, because I would never do it. I always wonder who these people are. Because even if I don't like someone's work, you know, if I see it, I would never write something.
But I mean, it's like an unwritten rule. It's like if you don't like something, you can just move on from it because it's not for you.
Scroll past. Like do you know what? I'm all for crit. I love a good bit of crit because I think it can be really helpful to the process.
Yeah.
But someone like outwardly being like, that's just, you know, shit or whatever they'll say.
It's not constructive in any way.
It's like, all right. But then you get these people who are like, well, you shouldn't put it online then. It's like, oh, come on. But
yeah. They have a right to be dickheads, basically, because you put it online.
You put it online? How dare you share your work with the world?
Exactly. I have an opinion.
Yeah. No, so that was my probably worst. But then, and also one of the videos of the canvas pieces also went on, I think Hype Art posted it.
Yeah.
Some of the comments on there, savage.
Wow.
But
yeah. But there's good ones too.
But yeah,
right?
there are I always look at the positives because and there are always, I always look at the people who've supported from day one, and and I always go back to them, and because it is hard when you're being so vulnerable, putting your work out
definitely
into the world. Like it's you're putting it out, and 50% of the world are gonna hate it, literally hate it, and the other 50 are gonna love it, and you just have to know that and just be like, that's
you
the
just
beauty.
have to like it.
And you just have to like it. And
really?
that's
it's liking something enough to share it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And, you know, if I like it, someone else is going to like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, but no, look, some of the work I do, I'm like, oh, when I look back at it, I'm like, what is that? Like,
totally. I mean, same with me with tunes. I'm
exactly.
like, wow, like, no.
But that's progress, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, at least then you've made some progress. But,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So talking about progress, how do you see your art evolving into the future? If in any way at all?
I see it. I hope that I can see it in sculpture. I hope that I can see it in spaces. I want to work more in kind of in the world of like inspiring young people, especially young women. And I don't know what shape that will take yet. But I hope that, I can keep doing what I'm doing and, just keep doing what I'm doing basically, and keep creating product. And also, you know, working with younger people, I would like to start getting into that and mentorship. And
has anyone approached you for that yet?
Yeah, loads. I think that's something that
How do you go about, you know, how do you go about choosing? I don't know the process.
So I was doing it through, I did a charity once and I mentored 2 girls. But I think it's something I've thought about doing on my own terms, is creating almost like a mentorship program. Because I think it's so important to speak to people that are older and kind of have been through it all. Because I find it really interesting to talk to older creatives because I find it so it's so useful. So I would want to give that back.
Yeah, totally.
So somehow. But yeah.
Really important, I think, that you know, experience is shared from every stage in life. You know? Because if you're up here, if you're older, you can still learn from the kids that are starting out.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah,
you know?
And I think because I knew how much I struggled in my 20s with confidence and seeing, you know, because I talked a lot about, you know, when I was worked in print, but for like 3-4 years of that, I really struggled because I just wanted so much to get out and be an artist, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the funds. I didn't have the support, you know, in terms of like client work and all of those things. So I kind of just want to help younger people just hold on and just be like, again, trust that process. So, because it is hard. It is really hard. Even when you do work with big brands, it's still hard. It's still even now, like I'm learning so many things now that I, you know, wish I knew before that I know now and I have learned from. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about your personal connection to art itself.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing, isn't it? But how do you stay motivated and inspired when you're working, especially during creative block kind of periods?
Yeah. Creative blocks are the worst, especially when you're like, when you're forced to be creative as well, especially when you're working for brands and clients, it's the worst. And actually also being a mum, because you have very specific times that you can work. But creative blocks, I think the problem with being creative is there's only a few moments in life where you feel that serious like fire, and every creative knows what that feeling is. There's only a few moments. They're few and far between, really, because that's I think for me that's what the magic is. That's when the magic happens. So I think creative blocks, they're so natural because you're not supposed to have that feeling all the time.
No.
So I think I've learned to just understand that you are only going to get those moments a few times.
Just being at peace with it.
Being at peace with it.
Yeah, right.
And when you feel that feeling, just go for it. To take advantage of that feeling, even if you have to stay up late to feel that feeling. And also find the times that you get those feelings. So for me, I used to get those feelings during the night. So like, I'd start working at 10 and finish at 3 a.m. And for some reason,
it's quite common, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's like everyone else is asleep and you're awake. I don't know what it is.
Having space is like having literally the space to do it because no one else is doing it, kind of thing.
I feel like really good.
Yeah.
Everyone else is sleeping.
But I had that. So the only thing I can compare that to is I've only made one album once, and it was in lockdown when everyone stopped.
Yeah.
Everyone I kind of knew or my peer group wasn't making music.
Yeah.
And it was like suddenly I was like, I can do it now.
Yes.
There's space. So I can kind of relate to it in that way.
Yeah.
In terms
That's
of
really
everyone's
interesting.
asleep, I can do this.
Now I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's a pressure thing. And yeah, but now because I'm a mum, I can't stay awake past 10 most nights because I'm that tired.
Yeah.
So
also relate to that.
Yeah, right. So that feeling that I used to get, I was realizing that I didn't have many of those moments. So I said to Philly, my partner, I was like, would you mind if on Friday nights, I do Friday night lates at the studio?
Cool.
And I had, even though I said this a few weeks ago, I've only had one session, but that session was incredible. I got so much work done.
Yeah.
And I think it's like finding your fire moment.
Well, you know yourself.
You know when you feel most inspired.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
that's
think
cool.
That's good.
So more late night Fridays.
Yeah.
Incoming.
Friday night late.
Yeah.
Is that the Tate thing? Yeah, maybe.
Yes, it is.
I've stolen the name.
Do you have any, well, I say daily or could be nightly kind of rituals and routines that help fuel your kind of regular creativity?
So I've started journaling, which I had no idea that I loved. And that's actually really helped me creatively. I think I am not a writer. I'm dyslexic. I cannot, for some reason, when I'm trying to write for a pitch for a client, I can't do it at all.
Yeah.
But when I'm writing to myself, for myself, I'm actually quite creative. Didn't realise. So I think that's now become my ritual is, writing.
Is there a specific time when you choose to do that?
Yeah, just before bed.
Okay. So like an end of the day thing?
End of the day, yeah.
Cool.
Which I think sometimes when you're so like involved in your own practice, like mine is obviously doing what I do, you sometimes think that you're not actually, that's just the only thing, but we're creative, right? So I think sometimes, maybe look outside of what your specific practice is and look to something else, because if you're creative there, you might be in other spaces.
Yeah,
so
you can apply the thought processing.
Yeah,
and
maybe you'd become better at that.
Yeah.
Who knows? I might write a book.
Who knows? How do you maintain a personal connection to your art?
A lot of the times, and I've kind of always worked like this, but I like to, sometimes when you get a project come in, you'll often work with an art director or something, but I always like to pitch my own concepts. Because unless there's obviously a very specific thing that they've already come up with.
Yeah.
But usually I like to ask if I can pitch the concepts, and most of the time it's, they do allow for that. And I think that kind of helps to kind of create the story, and that stories come from me and, the things I believe in. And I think when there's a story behind the work and when it feels quite personal to you, I think that's how you stay connected.
Totally.
I think sometimes like a lot of illustrators or artists will get a brief and they'll be told, this is it. And then that's, I guess they just are, the hands for that project rather than, giving your own concepts basically. And stories and thought processes. But yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Don't know if that sounds better. Yeah.
No, it made complete sense.
Oh, okay.
And answered the question.
Never know if I make sense or not, but yeah.
No, you do. Let's now look to the future and let's dream about what the future might hold.
Mm-hmm.
If you could collaborate with an artist or brand in the future, who would it be and why?
Artisan brand in the future. I don't. Oh gosh, there's too. Again, this is a really too open because there's too many people I'd like to do it with. But I would like. I guess maybe I would like to do something big. When you see like, I hate to name names. Maybe don't. Do I name the same? Okay, when you see like artists out in the world, is there are a lot of kind of male artists in the sculpture space and the toy space.
Oh yeah.
It feels very male dominated, and I would love to like get into that space. Like you see a massive cause. I'm like, I want to do something that big.
Oh yeah, I can totally see your work.
Yeah, and I want to see more. Yeah, I definitely want to see more female artists in that space.
Yeah.
My good friend, Hattie Stewart. Do you know her work, Hattie Stewart?
I think so.
She's an amazing artist and she's been around for years. She is someone I really, really do look up to. Her process is insane and she's just incredible. And she started doing a lot of sculpture work and it's just incredible. Check out her work.
So giant toy range incoming.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see. But I'd definitely like to get into that space.
Yeah, that's good. Well, listen, Kelly, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For joining us today and sharing your life and process.
Thanks.
It's been great to hear about it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We're really happy that you're enjoying Toast and Jams. And what we need from you now is a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it guarantees that we can keep this amazing standard of guests up. Also, if you want to learn anything more about the guests or their work, there'll be links in the description where you can also find their song choice. Thank you and keep tuning in. This has been a joint production between Toast and Jams and Allen Brothers Films.